Hi, I'm Scott Olson with FounderBuzz, and today I'm here with Richard Stiennon, founder and chief analyst at IT-Harvest. Thanks for being with us today, Richard.
Hey Scott, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we've known each other quite a while, and you've branched off and have been very successful recently with IT-Harvest, and I'd love to hear from you how that experience has been different than your time at WebRoot and Gartner.
Well, actually, Gartner was the beginning of kind of a white collar career for me because up till then I'd followed a serial but not necessarily successful entrepreneurial mode. I started 17 companies over my 25-year career. And it was always the classic, the entrepreneur has this great idea. He knows he can change the world. And then he just goes out and tries to raise funding. And of course, being in Michigan is kind of difficult in high tech to get funding. And then you fall into this trap that you're so convinced of your idea that you decide to go without the funding because you don't get it and time's a wasting. So you tend to launch, and every single venture of that type for many, many entrepreneurs, ends up just being a long haul of struggling without a paycheck for years and trying to get off the ground. And for one reason or another, there are many, many ways to fail, of which I've explored probably about 17 different ways.
Right, right. And with
So,
IT-Harvest, I mean, clearly it seems like it's going very well. So maybe you can kind of give a little bit of insights as your approach with this. Somebody that's done a lot of different businesses, what makes this one feel a little bit different?
yeah, this one feels different because an analyst firm is built on the reputation of the analysts. So I focused, really to leverage my reputation in the business, first as an analyst at Gartner, and then, the exposure I got to the inside workings of a couple of, pretty big vendors, both WebRoot and Fortinet. So when I essentially relaunched IT-Harvest in 2008, it was based on solely my reputation as an analyst, the ability to call some shots that luckily over the years have been, correct. And being extremely prolific. At Gartner, the model is, do a lot of public speaking, a lot of engaging with Gartner end user clients, and then publishing. But the publishing was kind of grueling because they had a very top-heavy editorial organization that would, go through your words and change your voice, and you really couldn't express yourself. So the idea for an analyst is to be very prolific, blog continuously, and write in as many places as you can, and now to do video in as many places as you can. And that generates this perception of influence.
Yeah.
And of course, influencers want to be, or the PR firms and vendors themselves want to be associated with an influencer.
Yeah,
So you
thinking
build it.
one question I'd really like to ask you, and this is one that I know that, as an analyst, you always have to balance, because as an influencer and somebody that has a key reputation, but also as a business owner, getting yourself going, how do you balance between needing that independence, needing that thought leadership and influence, but also, you need to run your business and you need to gain revenue, and there's a lot of times when you need to work with vendors who certainly want to put a particular point of view out. How do you maintain that balance?
Yeah, the key is to be objective and not swallow whole hog the vendor, marketing message that they're trying to get across. So in all of your writing, maintain that objectivity. Call the shots as you see them. Criticize particular products or methodologies that people are applying. Some of them, at least in my space, the security space, aren't good modes to go down. So somebody will go down a track, that was introduced by Cisco that's kind of totally off to one side of where the industry needs to go.
Right.
And then you just have to balance that. The hardest part, of course, is, as you mentioned, maintaining the business side, which is the sales. So the way to do that is create a division between the analyst and the sales function. So we brought on board a dedicated sales guy whose task is to reach out and offer our services, which are, public speaking, writing white papers, participating in blog posts, that sort of thing.
Great. Well, maybe as we wrap this thing up, I'd love to hear about how you've really used social media integrally with your business. I mean, you're out there in a big way, so maybe you could talk a little bit about your social media engagement.
Yeah, if you think about it, blogging was kind of the early social media. It was a little way, but one directional, right? As you posting. And then as Twitter came about, I got on early and started getting followers and getting the message out through that. And it wasn't long before 50% of the hits to my blog came from Twitter. And
Well,
of course,
that's pretty good.
yeah. So Google searches just don't cut it anymore. And interestingly enough, public relations people were the first to completely adopt social media. So they're all over Twitter, they're all over Facebook, and they're the ultimate lead into the client. So you can reach them through Twitter, and they see how many followers. I've got 30,000 followers on Twitter. And that means that my message and my statements, even though they're 140 characters long, but usually link to something of interest, they get paid attention to.
Well, I really appreciate your time today, Richard, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Scott. It was great.
Thanks.